Alright guys, Bulin here, back with more Persona 5. It's really late. It's 1 o'clock. It's literally 1 o'clock in the morning. And I do actually have to get up early tomorrow, so probably not going to record for that long. Though I might end up just saying, fuck it, I'm recording for a bit. But yeah, I did get home from work. Immediately after, I did watch the debate. That was fun. After that, watched Big Brother, and took notes on that, and also was able to make a thumbnail for my Yakuza video. That's pretty much what I did today after work, so yeah, but we're continuing on here. We're just doing random shit. I guess we're gonna spend time with Yusuke. Why not?
Where he evicts Christmas. He was literally just being like, alright, so this is the final 3, I guess. What do you think? Right. Listen, Chris was being pissed that she saw the CBS website a few days ago. She saw there was just Enzo, Cody, and Nicole up there, that they were also declaring it prematurely. Well, they heard it from Enzo, straight from Enzo. Yeah, I mean, this is what happens when you know, don't make any moves and go to the end with your big alliance and then get picked off.
Please hear me.
Like, sorry. That looks cool.
I thought Christmas's, I just thought about this. Christmas's push for Cody was great. A few weeks too late though. Like, just way too late. You had all that info on Enzo, and you went in until he's HOH and Cody is has the veto. Hey, Enzo's been behind your back. Let me take you back a mere month in this game to tell you about what you did back then. And you know, I think, unfortunately, it just came out of the fact that, you know, I think she just felt so well insulated at that point. She had Tyler, she had Enzo to a certain extent, she had Memphis, that like she probably didn't feel like she needed to do it. And now that she's in a desperate corner, she's like, all right, I guess I better pull this out of my pocket. But like you said, it ended up getting to a point where Cody's like, well, Enzo's been, you know, pulling some BS, but I also don't know, you know, if he's really going to be able to win the final HOH anyway, so like, I'm totally fine still going to the final 3 with him. And it's not like he was sitting on the block next to her. Right. Nicole was next to you. Cody's number 1 that y'all knew from week 4 we're working together, so what is this? It is weird to me thinking about, like, the final 6. If you had told me at the final 6 is Tyler, Christmas, and Memphis, and then you got Cody, Enzo, and Nicole, and you're gonna tell me that Tyler, Memphis, and Christmas get shut out of all the competitions, like, that's pretty insane. Yeah, that's true. Wow, yeah. Yeah, well, though I will also, again, I talked about this last time we were on the round table. I think we should officially put to rest this idea of Christmas Abbott comp beast. I think exactly. Yes. And lots of tattoos, my friend, do not necessarily equal that you're a shoo-in for the competitions. As was shown, you know, again, despite her insistence, I feel like, you know...
See, as I said, tomorrow I have stuff going on in the morning. I'm going to probably try to update my E&W and Big Brother reviews tomorrow. I'll probably even work on my Amazing Race one. And then, if I get all that done in time, then I'll start the Yakuza video.
She didn't buzz in for a single answer in the HOH she won. Tavon and Bailey screwed up in the veto, eliminated themselves again, and then...
we still need to... What do we need to increase again? Charm, right?
Didn't do anything in the veto, and Ian didn't even compete. And then she did win. She won a puzzle veto during the triple eviction.
Alright, let's go ahead and...
that was like the cleanest, that and the safety suite, you know, the cleanest wins she has. But man, like,
this.
I forgot about that veto. I totally forgot about that veto. When she said I won comps, I was like, comps? The only one I can remember was the HOH that was thrown to her. Well, I think the important thing, though, I guess if there's something to take from, like, the Tale of Christmas, there are many things to take from the Tale of Christmas. It's almost like an Aesop's fable, in a way. But I think from a competition perspective, it's almost as much as important to be physically stable as it is to be, like, for lack of a better term, emotionally unstable. You know, I don't want to necessarily do a deep dive into the psyche of Christmas Abbott, but she was quick to rise and quick to freak out, and I can imagine in intense must-need competitions, when you get in your head with that type of stuff, that can cause you to sputter out a lot quicker than somebody like a Memphis, for example, who just don't give a bleep attitude, will just be like, all right, I'll be nice and calm and get through this hydrant puzzle. I don't really give a crap what everybody else... Yeah, I don't give a crap what everybody else is doing, as opposed to Christmas, who, like, loses the one little dodgeball and then has, you know, freak out about it. I think
be as strong as you want to, but if you're not strong up here, it's gonna amount to a hill of beans.
Mike, I don't know if you saw this, but she had an entire, 20-minute conversation with Kaser earlier in the season where she explained to him how to win competitions because she had just won the safety sweep that week, and she was explaining to him that you need to be able to keep your cool and in the moment just
see what he
stay
wants to do.
calm and be in the zone.
We
and
might
not
actually go
freak
to
out.
Mementos
And
at
that's
some point.
exactly how she does it. That's exactly how she beasts out in these competitions. So
Yeah, and what's that expression? Those that can't do teach. I'm just gonna leave it at that.
Snap.
Why not?
She does go out swinging though here. She is going to campaign to Cody. She offers that she will take him to the final two if she stays. And she tells Julie. Julie says, "Would you really have taken Cody to the final two if you had stayed?" She says, "Most likely."
Yeah, I mean, it does seem like, again, to that point, at least in the moment, she seems so charged. Like, I honestly think if, for some reason, this night had been, like, the finale night and Christmas had won that final 3 HOH, and she was choosing between Cody and Enzo, she would have chosen Cody. I think she would have made a decision right there that was like, I'm just shooting from my gut, I'm doing this for my family. Enzo, you betrayed me 3 too many times. I'm taking Cody to the end. I think there's a non-zero.
Yeah, it was funny how delusional Christmas is in her,
Maybe Enzo brings her back around as an example.
exit interview.
Yeah, that was one of many surprising statements from her exit interview.
But Christmas winning the final 3 would have been like she from on that days comp yesterday, she was the one who got the most like days actually wrong. Like not even the physical portion of that part. She got those days wrong and had to redo them. So there's no way that she was gonna have a choice at the final 3, even if she made it. Guys, I do not like Christmas. I'm sorry.
What's your problem with Christmas? You get gifts. It's fun.
I like the real Christmas.
Okay, let's see.
Well, I would say if anyone's happy right now, it's the Big Brother production company because they were able to wring 11 weeks of Christmas music and Christmas puns and Christmas references. That is a return on investment, my friend.
And they loved her in the DR.
Yeah, they did, because she say what you want to, like, I think when it comes to the scriptedness, like, she does a good job of just, like, sitting there, being very firm, being very intense, being very straightforward. I think especially, I can imagine if they're like, no, you really have to build up the fact that you're, like, cold and, merciless, like, she is much more able to swing into that than I think some of these
What's
other
here?
people. I don't
Let's
think
look at
Enzo's
what's over there.
trying
Oh
to
fuck, I
really
forgot we had
come
to spend
across
money.
like that, but Christmas played
God
her
damn
part
it.
very well.
Yeah,
Whatever.
Enzo in the diary room is like, alright, yo, I guess this is what I gotta do, yo. Like,
Nothing too
I gotta do what I gotta do. That's
notable
it, right?
here.
Like he doesn't even look at the camera. Like it's like he's constantly being forced to sit there.
Well,
He's like, can I go yet, yo?
No, I
No,
think we're
Enzo,
good.
we need you to talk to us. This is like what your thing. Like, be funny, dude. He's like, there's a bunch of things you can buy with 10K, yo. That's you can. I get a bidet, right? I
He was
get a
playing the
bidet.
reruns, exactly. He's like, oh yeah, all right, let me just plug and play here. Well, Taryn, I know you brought up at a certain point during the season that like you felt that Enzo had run a bit out of steam, either from an entertainment perspective or just from like a mental perspective. I mean, as we reach
That's not what I
the
meant to
end
do.
of the game, do you still
Oh, wait,
think
what the fuck?
is holding
That was a lot.
right to that point about his sort of energy level in the DR?
So that was the bonus from playing Persona 5.
I think that he really he had so much agency earlier on in the game, and he had Tyler, and he had Memphis over here, and he was really like operating, and he was ready to like make moves, but he didn't win anything. I think he won a couple of competitions early on, and he was like, this is it. This is my season, yo. And he was like, this is gonna be different from last time. And then he just struck out on everything. And he's just been like, it's the same. It's the same all over again. Like, I can't win, yo. And I think it's been very demoralizing on top of all of the other issues he's gone through.
That, and there's like no pressure for anything like for him really. Like Enzo of all people we've been talking about, he has been in a good spot since the 6. He's one of the few people of that 6 that really has not had much to worry about ever. So once you take yourself off the gas, once you're like not as like, oh, I'm about to go home, then I think you get sloppy, and I think it affected his performance in the challenges. I think he just wasn't being challenged enough, basically. So it just kind of, you know, that laziness kind of sneaked in on him.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
Well, we see that Cody's going to be messing with Nicole a little bit. She's going to give him a campaign, and it's that, hey, I've been with you from the start, and I will take you to the final 2, I promise. And he's like, I don't know. This sounded better when it was coming from Christmas. She's like, oh my god.
Oh, this is weird. I don't know what to do. Because I feel like I want to do this because this is new content, but I also want to build the relationship on.
Sitting in that chair as Cody stood up to cast his vote to evict, Nicole was sitting there like,
Congratulations so many times. Well, I think, you know, this is a situation that she hasn't been in before.
Shit, I think we're gonna do it.
Which is the last time she made the Final Four. They knew that they were gonna evict Corey over. She was definitely more well entrenched there, and so I can imagine that, like, even that one speckle of doubt that she
Your bond's not even gonna increase? Okay, no. We're out then. I've changed my mind.
I will say not great on Cody's part to, you know, play with someone who definitely has anxiety issues to be like, maybe I'll keep you, maybe I won't. But also, considering how long the days have been, both as a viewer and as a house guest, I also could imagine Cody's just, like, desire to sort of have fun by effing around with people, especially when he's in a position of power.
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we head to the jury house. And we get to hear from the jury. We
Good
hear,
stuff.
yes, that Devon is rooting for Enzo. This is not super surprising, but I did notice that even as she says, I'm rooting for Enzo, I want him to do well, she makes a note of saying, I know that people think he's played a very lazy game, a very boring game, but I have faith that he will make a move. That he will do, and this ties back to her previous jury segment where she says, I want Enzo to do well, but he's gonna need to make some kind of move in order to prove that he's worth, you know, a vote. And so what she tells us is that he's got to make a move, and at this point, we know that the only opportunity to make a move at this point is if he wins the final 3 HOH and takes out Cody, which, you know, we've been saying all along, that's probably a winning move for whoever does it, and we basically got a lot of confirmation in this jury segment that is basically just where we're at.
Yeah, let's just take that bottle of ketchup from that Big Brother 14 scenario and have it cut Cody, and it probably win Big Brother All-Star.
Oh yeah, I did make a last-second change on my stopwatch. I decided to go all in on Enzo. And I'm not feeling great about it, but I decided to fucking do it. I decided, you know what, if I want to get back, because I want to be back to where I was. I want to be back to, like, top 20 sort of range. And it's like, if I'm going to get anywhere close, I need to go all in on Enzo and just hope that he goes up slightly. Like, the problem is if Enzo gets shut out, if it becomes a Cody and Nicole in the final part of the HOH, then I'm pretty sure I'm going to be in a bad spot. So I'm kind of banking on Enzo winning part 2, but we'll see. I'm not feeling great about it, but...
Well, yeah, I mean, I think it could be a Paul Raven thing, or, like, the thing I would think of was, like, a Bruno Godfrey situation for Big Brother Canada 3, where, to be candid, you know, I think they're getting annoyed with each other, and I can understand why people are getting annoyed with Danny if she's stumping for Cody and being so anti-Nicole as much as we are seeing her 24 hours a day. That has got to get extremely annoying. If just, like, every conversation you have is Danny trashing Nicole and building up Cody, it gets to a certain point where, and to the point where she's, like, interrupting other people's points to be like, oh, you mentioned Nicole, let me mention about how she's bad at this game and how she should lose. Then you're just like, give it a rest. already. Maybe this is like a smaller microcosm of what these jurors have had to go through for the past several weeks.
Yeah, David is like, well, I think it's possible for Nicole to win. Ho, 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 ho. No. It is not possible for Nicole. Are you kidding me? What has she done? Why would she win? It's like, well, I was just, if you wanted to, no, I'm not trying to interrupt you. I'm just saying that, like, why would Nicole win the game? Whoa, Danny, why? Let David talk. I'm letting him talk. I'm just saying that Nicole's not gonna win. It's like, why are you being so rude?
This kind of a boring scene, if I'm being honest.
Like, so anyway,
Right.
I mean, I think it's possible.
That was so rude of Danny. Like, poor David. Like, not even just her interrupting him, but the way she talked to him, the thing that she said to him really was like that feeling of like, why are you even here? Like, why are you speaking? Like, she really had a tone to her voice. And Kevin stepping in I was just like, yo, what is happening? Like, something must have happened right before they turned that camera on that we didn't see.
I think
Because they were out 10.
Well, this is sort of, I think, unfortunately, the costs that come with the benefits of being a Danny Donato / Briones fan. It's like, she can be so, like, vociferous. And if you hate the person that she's digging into, you're like, yes, we love you, Danny. Get her, Jade. Dig into her. If you like the person, or if you feel like it's too much, then you're like, Danny, my God, you are overly cruel. And I think look at like the past couple weeks, we were like, oh, I love Danny in this jury. Like, she's really stumping for Cody. That's the right person. Go her. And now this episode, you're like, whoa, Danny, a little too heavy on the Nicole hate there. So it just really shows how that scale can tip so easily when it comes to, you know, she's giving the same amount of energy to this pitch. It just depends honestly on who she is sort of pitching it about. That changes our view of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I thought it was interesting that they were like, okay, well, Memphis is basically the last hope for opposition to Cody. You know, Memphis, you could argue he was.
I'm kind of thinking we're just gonna drop
so, you know, maybe
the Kawakami stuff just because it's so fucking expensive.
It is interesting that before that, you know, you made this point, Karen, that last week, and again, this speaks to the weird for
Again, we're not even getting
last week, Kevin's like,
close to the point where
Cody's playing a great
it's
game
gonna
this
go
week.
up
Like,
either.
I
think we're just gonna go and do
sacrificed a goat so Cody would leave this week. He needs to go
this
right
here.
now. It's like, oh, okay, so then, alright, so maybe there is still a chance that he doesn't vote for Cody in the end, no matter who he sits against.
Yeah, I mean, my read on that was, like, if he makes it there, I'm gonna have to vote for him. So please let him get voted out before that happens.
Maybe we can work something out here.
Yeah, that makes sense. But can somebody just isolate Davon's face when Memphis came around the corner? Like, Davon just like, I mean, it was just like nothing. She had nothing for him. I was just like, whoa, like, what happened? She was just
Still
like,
no.
Okay.
Yeah, it was interesting because like Julie's like shocked reactions across the jury as Memphis walks in, and obviously like Kevin was flabbergasted, Tyler was besides himself, David, being a good sport, just gets up and is the first one to give him a hug, and Tate's just like, not gonna give you the damn time of day.
yeah, and she did not move. He had to like awkward hug her. I was like, oh, like, I knew she wasn't like the biggest fan of Memphis when they were in the house, but I feel like something, maybe
was fine about
the
this.
talking amongst the other people, but she was really not feeling him when he came around the corner. I really want to know what's going on with that.
Well, I mean, he was the HOH that, you know, put her up and evicted her, so there might be some resentment there.
That. Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Well, like I said, we do get around to that basically, look, if Nicole wants to win, she's going to have to make a move. We heard this from Tyler, too, and this is why, like, while I do see Danny as a potential agitator in the jury that pushes people away from Cody, I see Tyler as sort of like the other end of that, where Tyler is in there like, yeah, but what did Nicole do? Like, why is she just sitting there? We know from Tyler on the feeds, he said, I'm not going to vote for Nicole unless she makes a move. He was not impressed by her HOH, that she decided to put up Memphis and Christmas instead of Cody and Enzo.
He like flat out said, like, that was not a good idea.
Oh, fuck it, let's do it.
For a down-to-the-surface clean, try Mr. Clean Magic Eraser. You see, Magic Eraser cleans right down to the surface. Easily removing what sprays can leave behind. So for an easy down-to-the-surface clean, try Mr. Clean Magic Eraser.
Yeah.
Yep. And he's just like, wow, I get I'm definitely getting the sense that he's not impressed with her. And then Memphis comes in and he says, so I actually had 2 alliances called the Wise Guys, one with Christmas, one with Cody, and Enzo told Cody about the other one. And Tyler's like, oh man, so like Enzo is just blindly loyal to Cody this whole time. Like, he's gonna have to do something to prove that's not the case. And it just keeps coming back to this. One of those 2 has to win that HOH, and they have to cut Cody, or it really just feels like they've got no chance here.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be intrigued to see. Obviously, we know that we are probably going to, despite the long week we have ahead of us, we're still going to get another Rush jury segment in the finale. But I'll be intrigued to hear, like, you know, if this doesn't happen, will the questions to whoever the second place person will be essentially be like, why did you not cut Cody? What did you do besides join up with Cody? I think if Cody wins the final HH or this person brings Cody to the end, the questions, much like what happened in BB19, I do feel like are going to be very centric about Cody. Either things that he did or things people did that did not involve him, that they could use to separate themselves from him in the final vote.
Yeah, from what I got from the jury segment was like, you saw a lot of like, who I would want to vote for and who I'd begrudgingly vote for. So we got Kevin right now doesn't like Cody, but you know will probably be forced to vote for him. Tyler seems very anti-Nicole, and for Cody right now, doesn't respect what Enzo's doing for what it seems like. Day is clearly for Enzo. I think Day would vote for Enzo over anybody sitting up there, but she does acknowledge that she would like to see him do something. And she seems also very receptive to Nicole too winning. Day seems receptive to Nicole winning as well, which is interesting.
She pointed out when she saw that Nicole won HOH and veto, she was like, this is what happened last time.
Yeah.
Like Nicole, they didn't win anything until the end, and it was Nicole and Corey. This time it's Nicole and Cody. I mean, and the difference is that Corey got cut at the Final Four. So, but yes, I think if I'm looking at a path for Nicole to win, I think she would probably need to have all of Devon, Ian, Kevin, David, and Christmas.
Yeah.
I think she needs all of those votes. Ian,
Devon, Kevin,
David, and Christmas.
Yeah.
I think she needs all of those votes. And
I think those are definitely the 5 most likely people to vote for her.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so.
Wow.
I'm seeing Ian talk about how well Cody's doing. I'm seeing Kevin talk about how they need to cut Cody. He's so impressed by Cody. I'm seeing Devon, even though she did bring up like, oh, this is what happened last time. But it wasn't necessarily like a positive thing. Like,
but then she also brought up like, well, she's doing that, great, but she still needs to make that move. Like,
exactly.
Like you said before, Mari, with Enzo, she still brought in that caveat of, I'm still waiting for one last little thing though to really make me feel like I could vote for her. Yeah, I think it's less about who would vote for Nicole against Cody, and more so like, if Nicole ends up in the final 2, who are the 5 most likely people to vote for her? And
not Memphis.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, definitely not Memphis. I don't know about Tyler, Danny. I do not think at this point, even if it's Nicole and Enzo, I don't think Danny's voting for Nicole, which is a crazy thing to say. But I think
that's weird.
I cannot imagine Danny sitting there for a month shit-talking Nicole's game and then coming around in the end and voting for her. That would be ridiculous to me.
Yeah, so I'm thinking Nicole would basically have to be taken to the final 2 by Cody for it to come close. I think if she wins that final 2 and picks Cody, they won't respect that pick, and she might lose. I'm thinking if he would sweep.
I think it's possible.
Yeah, I think she loses by winning and taking him, but she'll have a closer shot possibly if he takes her.
Yeah, 'cause she can at least have the. But I mean, I think the problem is I would be surprised if one of the questions wasn't, okay, if you had won, who would you have taken? And I'd bet a lot of money she'd say I would have taken Cody.
Yeah.
And they're gonna be like, Ryan.
Well, shake up. Julie, I've been ready to put my key in the box.
Yeah.
And so are we just completely writing Enzo off here?
I mean, in terms of making it there, I don't think it's quite as much a given that Nicole beats Enzo in part 2 of the final 3 HOH as I think a lot of people are. Especially, like, what we saw last season was more physical than it was mental. It was very easy questions with a very physical task to get around. And what we saw in the Final Four veto was that Enzo did know the answers to those questions. He just couldn't get the wheel around. He wasn't skilled enough at the wheel. I think that Nicole is definitely at least on par with Enzo physically, if not even better than him physically at certain things. I think she's probably better than him at like skill tasks in general. But one area that Enzo might have over Nicole is something like a rock wall, where he's got massive reach advantage over her.
Which is probably, I would say, most likely going to be the thing. I feel like it's almost always climb a wall and do something for part 2.
Yeah. So
Such a shame.
it's definitely possible, I think, here that Enzo has a chance to win that part 2. If he makes it to part 3, I'd still give Cody odds to beat him. And you know, it's certainly possible that Nicole could beat Cody in an endurance competition in part 1, but she has said she'd throw it to him, so who knows about that. But overall, I think he's not completely out of this. I do think he's the least likely to win of the 3, but probably not. Shouldn't be counted out quite as much as maybe a lot of people are. And he has, much more than Nicole, discussed the option of cutting Cody to the cameras. That this might be his final move that he needs to make in order to win the game. It's definitely something that's on his mind at the very least. I'd still say that he is more likely to take Cody than not at this point, but I like I said, I don't want to completely eliminate the possibility of Enzo cutting Cody. It's not completely impossible at this point, I think.
Even if he gets to the final 2, though, do we think he has a big enough resume to stand? Like,
I think if he cuts Cody, I think.
Okay, so it's literally just dependent on that one move, you think?
Well, because I think
do.
you could hinge everything upon that, right? Every story is conclusion. And so I think you could say, like, I did all this, I went on this scene. You're probably questioning, why did I not vote for Nicole at the triple eviction? Why did I get rid of Memphis? Why did I get rid of Christmas? It's because I wanted to ride the coattails of this guy and cut him when I had the opportunity to do so. And look where I am now. Like, granted, you throw a few more goes and it is what it is in there, and that's essentially Enzo's speech. But I think that's why it's such a strong point that it could work for either Enzo or Nicole. But that needs to happen, because I will also say Enzo's goodbye messages the past couple times have not been great. In fact, I would argue they've sort of been on the Paul level of just really getting undermined by his competitors for really trying to save face with the other jurors.
Yeah. And I think that's such a big key element of it, is that not only does it complete his story, but it changes his story from what Tyler said, he was blindly loyal to Cody the whole time, he was just a Cody minion, to no, he knew what he was doing the whole time. He was prepared to cut Cody when the time came. It was just that he knew his best path to the end was this, and then he decided to make the move here. It wasn't that he was just being led by a leash. And you prove that by cutting the person that people might argue led you around on a leash.
Do I have any of
his
us
goodbye
to say?
messages could have been doing work to prove this was not the case. This is what Josh did in season 19, is that he went against Paul in the goodbye messages. He undermined him to kind of try to prove, like, hey, I'm not just a minion. I have my own will in this game. And you know that because I'm willing to badmouth Paul in the jury messages. Enzo has not really done that. Enzo has just been like, yo, you know I was fighting for you, yo. That's it. I really like you. I feel like Enzo has taken this idea of the jury votes for the person they like, they're mad at the person that played them, and he has just taken it to the extreme. He's tried to lean so hard into this idea of like, I have a better relationship with you. You know I was on your side. I was the one that you had the connection with. Don't mind this other dude. He's the one that got you out.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the interesting thing is that it's a tricky needle to thread, and we've seen this all the way back from Yvette in Big Brother 6 of like how much goodbye messages can have an effect on people. But to me, there's a fundamental difference between Enzo, who in his goodbye messages saying like it's not my fault, to someone like Cody saying it is my fault and here's why.
Yep.
And that's why I don't know if this is a hot take, I think Cody has been doing a pretty damn good job in his goodbye messages.
Yeah.
And I would not say Andy Herron is like an all-timer goodbye message, but it's a very similar idea, right? Of like getting out your game in these messages. And granted, it does sound a little arrogant sometimes just because it's coming from Cody, but for him being very matter-of-fact of like, listen, the reason I had to come for you is much like, Vanessa always was about rationalizing things of her saying, well, there's another Wise Guys alliance, you were in it, and in this alliance with Nicole and Enzo as well, like you provide in very stark terms why you had to get rid of this person, so that the emotional reaction immediately becomes methodical and logical of, okay, I'm pissed off that Cody got rid of me, but now take a look at it from his perspective. It makes a lot of sense. I think it's such an interesting disarming technique that I'm surprised hasn't been used more often, but I think it's also a tricky thing to do depending on the people that you're dealing with.
Yeah, and Cody and Nicole have both been doing it. Nicole did the same thing with like the Ian vote out, and Ian was pissed, and then he said, oh, so she had another side, she had another alliance. That makes sense. Like they have both learned that if you're in the power position, then you need to explain your moves, and you need to
we'll end the episode whenever we get to a save
get
point.
that across. Meanwhile, Enzo is so worried about keeping that emotional tie, that nice guy tie, that friendship tie, that he's undermining his game. You are basically telling these people that you are impotent in this game. You're saying, I wanted to keep you, but you're sitting out there.
I guess technically we don't need to, do we?
Which means my game is not
Because like,
good.
I'll probably end up doing
like,
one
that's
more
what
anyway.
that's what I feel is coming across. And I think, I forget who made that point on these podcasts, but it was the same thing with Danny and Dick. How Danny would tell everybody like, oh, I can't control my dad. And then when it came down to the final two of them, they gave him the nod over her. So, it's just very sad that Enzo's dropping the ball in his goodbye messages, because half of that jury really want to vote for him, or more than half want to vote for him. They like him enough to want to vote for him, but he is giving them nothing to justify giving them the vote.
Yeah, I mean, he's trying to do to the jury what he's been doing to the audience all season, which is, hey, yo, I'm doing my best, yo. And they, like us, are going to be like, okay, sure, you've been saying that all season long, but where are the receipts? What have you done? And there's gonna be nothing. I'm totally with you, Mike. I think that Cody's goodbye messages are some of the best I've ever seen in terms of very succinctly summarizing exactly where his game is at in a very flattering light, and flattering the person that he's talking about. It makes him look good. It makes it look like he's complimenting the person he's talking to. We've seen that Nicole has tried to do something similar, not with nearly as much success, in my opinion. I think I was on this podcast a week ago saying that based on Cody's goodbye message to Memphis, I felt like this is not going to be perceived as Nicole's move. Nicole sees this as I took out Memphis, but based on the goodbye messages, Memphis is going to go to that jury house and they're going to look at it like Cody did this. And I feel like that's exactly what we heard from the jury segment tonight, that why did Nicole do this? Oh, Cody did this. He knew about the Wise Guys. That's because Enzo told him. Cody knew, so Cody decided to take out Memphis. And Cody is getting all of the credit for this, and he's explaining it in a way that's like, it's just right in that line of like, this is what I'm doing. I did really, like, from day 2, I had 3 key final twos. Like, you go one step in the wrong direction, and that comes off as very arrogant and braggy and like rubbing it in your face, like look how well I've played. But I think he's really walked the line well, and I think these goodbye messages have been really well done.
Yeah, Jake DeSilva brings up a great point in the chat that it also seems like Cody, I think, tweaks his tone a bit based on the people he's talking to. Like Tyler, he brings up all the final twos that he had because he knows that that's something that Tyler can appreciate in a game. With Christmas, he brought up the loyalty factor to a certain extent of like, I took you out because these are the people I've been loyal to since the beginning. If we know one thing about Christmas, that's what she prides in this game. So I think there are, subtle moves that are made as well to be like, okay, what are the three big facets that this one possible juror values in the game, and how can I tweak my game to make it seem like I am imbued with those virtues, and that's why you should vote for me when you get to the jury house.
Yeah. And so he says to Christmas in his goodbye message, he says, I had 3 key final twos, one with Nicole, one with Enzo, and one with Memphis. And I tweeted this out, that Christmas is going to go to the jury house, and she's going to explain Cody's goodbye message, and Danny's just going to be like, well, I mean, he's probably just still hiding, because, he's obviously I was the most important final two, but...
Well, clearly he's keeping this a secret for everybody. He wants this to be a big surprise.
Really
like him and America's favorite in my original season. Like this is gonna be the big shocker of the finale.
Yeah, he just knows that if he says he had a final two with me, then I would get all the credit for his game. So he needed to hide it so that he would get the credit for it. Which I get it. I understand, Cody.
Yeah, I want to see those mental gymnastics.
Though to be fair, I don't know if Danny's giving Christmas the time of day when she gets to the jury house. Like I think Danny has out of F's to give, and considering the way that Danny left the house with Christmas, like I could just imagine just like we have 1 week left. Let's just be